Hi, I'm Miss Lashonda and I work for the technology company CGI. And what I do at CGI is I help implement the STEM education program, and we implement activities that teach students just like yourself about STEM activities all across the United States. So today, the activity that we're going to share with you is called Sweet Stats. And yes, it's called Sweet Stats because you're able to use a little bit of candy when you're learning all about data visualization. So what is data visualization? Well, basically, it is a great way to represent the information that you know that you have in a different form. Sometimes when you have a lot of information, it can be a little bit difficult to understand. And even when we're working with clients at CGI, we want to give them a way to be able to see clearly the information that they have so they can make the right decisions about their particular product. So we're going to get started by learning a little bit about what data visualization actually is. So when you think about data and visualizing that data, we're going to think about an easier way to represent it than just thinking of it in our minds, okay? So we can do that by using a chart, a diagram, or even some sort of picture. So today I have this chart that we use with CGI, and this is what I'm going to use. Now, if you don't have this exact chart, that's okay. You can go ahead and make your own. All you need is a sheet of paper. I'm gonna go over the additional items that you need, but first I want you to see exactly what your chart should look like. Okay, so now that you have your chart, I want you to grab a few other things. You'll need a few pencils, maybe a few color pencils if you have them, a few highlighters if you have those, a blank sheet of paper just so you can make some notes if you need to, of course your candy, paper plate so you can put your candy in, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so now that you have all the supplies that you're going to need, the next step is to start thinking about your data. So in order to understand really what your data is going to look like, let's think in terms of more, less than, or equal to. So right now, just take a guess about your candy. You don't have to count it, just take a guess. This is forming your hypothesis. Which one of your candies do you think you have the most of? Once you've formed your hypothesis, you're going to take your chart and you're going to find the column for that particular color of candy, and you're going to make a check mark next to that box so that way you remember that you've hypothesized that this one is the one you have the most of. So right now, I think I probably have the most red in my plate. So that's my hypothesis. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a check mark next to my red box. Next, you're going to hypothesize which one do you think you have the least amount of. So I think I have the least amount of blue. I'm going to make an X next to my blue box so that way I remember that I believe that one is the least amount. Finally, let's take a guess about if we feel that any of the colors might be equal to each other. I'm looking at my candy and I don't think any of them are equal, so I'm just gonna leave that one blank. But if you think that you have any colors that are equal, just go ahead and underline those. Now it's time to start analyzing our data. So we are going to do that by separating all of our candies into their own color category and then counting them so we can get an accurate representation of our data. So we're going to start by taking the candy, separating them out in our plate just by color. Don't have to count or anything right now. Remember, don't eat your candy because you want to make sure that you can properly identify your data. So separate them out by color. Just create little stacks of each different color here. And then we're going to put that information into our chart so we can see exactly how they're all represented. So now that we have all of our colors separated, you can take a look at your data and you can visualize it this way also. So this is another form of data visualization. We're going to take all of this information, put it into our chart, so that way it's easy for us to see and easy for us to count. So the first color I have on my chart is red. So I'm going to start with my red candies and I'm just going to place them in each box that I have on my chart. I'm going to do the same thing for each one of my colors. Okay, now that I have all of my different colors of candy into the right row, I am going to count them, and then after I count them, I'm going to write down the number that I actually have for each one at the bottom of that row. Okay, after you've counted and you've written down the number of candies that you have in each one of your rows, now we can actually start to assess our data. So when doing that, we want to look at it and see, what's the hypothesis that we made when we first began? Remember, when we first started, we wanted to remember which one we thought we had the most of, which one we thought we had the least of, and if any of them seem like they may be equal to each other. So I guessed, or I hypothesized, that I had the most red. So right now I have 7 red candies. I also guessed, or I hypothesized, that I had the least amount of blue, and I have 6 blue candies. So is 7 the most that I have? Let's see. On my paper, when I counted, I have 7 red, 12 white, 7 orange, 6 blue, and 3 green. So it seems that my guess was a little bit close, but not exactly right. So now you can exactly see why it's important to analyze your data and get a proper visualization of it. So now that you've seen exactly what it looks like to analyze your data and visualize it in the chart, which way do you think was easier to understand? When we were just taking a guess about how many we thought we had, or now that we can see it, each color placed in each column? Which one do you think? I think that it's easier for me to see and understand by looking at it in this chart, because it lets me know exactly how many I have, which ones I definitely have the most of, and which ones I definitely have the least of. You can analyze your data for all sorts of different things, using a chart, using a picture, using any type of diagram that you can think of that will allow you to separate the items that you are looking at into different categories. So I hope you guys really enjoyed learning about data visualization. Go out there and visualize any data that you can get your hands on. And don't forget, if your parents say it's okay, go ahead and have a little candy. See you next time.